Hi folks, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing book covers. This is something that was directly inspired by a comment that one of you left. I believe it was on my return to YouTube video, where they were talking about, I said share something positive, and they said, oh, I was in a different country and I got an edition of, I believe it was Dracula, if I'm not mistaken, and I like collecting different editions of books in my travels, which is not something that I've really done. And so I was inspired to go and look at just various editions of Stephen King books because they've been around so long. There's been many different editions over the years, and sort of make like my own little collection of ones that I think are interesting, and so that we can talk about them. We can talk about design. I mentioned, I believe in my last video, I really like different typography and I'm really inspired by fonts and design and stuff like that. Over the years been inspired by book covers, and so I was like, you know what, let me just sit through like the 7,000 editions of Carrie and see which ones spark my interest. As I go through, you'll sort of see some themes that I really like. I didn't just do Carrie, I have a couple photo albums for like some of his other books, and there's definitely a really distinct style from the early 90s that very much mimics another style that should be well known, Goosebumps. I think his name is Tim, the artist who did the covers that we're really familiar with in Goosebumps, and that's sort of like, I don't know what that style is called, but like 90s airbrush kind of like, I don't know, but it's seen in some of Stephen King's covers. I'm like, I need to get my friggin' hands on those because they're really, really cool. I picked, I think, like 17 here, and they're in no real order, but I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the cover choice. Like, I've read Carrie, I've been with Carrie now for like a couple weeks. There's several videos now. I'm done with that, but I want to see if the cover really elicits like, oh, that is what Carrie is about, or if it just doesn't make fucking sense, because there's a couple in here that I picked that I'm like, huh? Like, what? So I have them up on my iPad. I will pop up a video here of what they look like, and yeah, let's just get into my feelings on some of these, because some of them are really fun. So the first one I have here is, I believe, the first edition, or at least the paperback edition. This is Stephen King, Carrie, 1974. And then it's interesting that it says, from one of the most brilliant imaginations of our time, when really it was his first book out, I think, or his first like well-known book. And so it's really cool to see how that progressed, because obviously he is one of the most brilliant writers, I personally think, of our time, at least the most like well-known, prolific, whatever that word is. So just to have this on his debut novel is pretty cool. As for the image makes no sense to me. I mean, it does in the, here's Carrie, and then like the sort of like two-faced, here's her like telekinetic side. Does it give anything into the novel? No. In my personal opinion, no. Is it interesting even? Like, I don't know. I need your opinion on it. It reminds me of those images where it's like, do you see a vase or do you see two people's faces about to smooch or something? You know, it reminds me a little bit of that. And then also just reminds me of like being two-faced, which is not what Carrie is, but that's just the vibe that I'm getting from that. Do I think this is an effective cover knowing what you know about the book? Not really. It doesn't give you too much of anything. So then let's take a look at one of the more modern ones. So this one is in English, I believe a Hodder edition, not the ones that I have, but a different Hodder edition from 2019. So obviously by this point, we're well into knowing what this book is about. And this one kind of gives you everything that you need to know. It's got the tiara, it's got Carrie at prom, it's got fire. Getting into that's exactly what's happening here. It kind of hits you with the most pivotal moment of the book. And I found, as I was looking through all the covers, that the main sort of themes that obviously come up is Carrie's face, blood, and like fire, kind of. And those are like the three main things. And I'll be honest, like some of the 2000s to 2010s are just not my vibe. It's very like, here's a goth novel and we put like a rose with blood spatter on it, and I'm like, okay, like that's yeah, that's a choice, you know, but it's not my favorite. Those kind of covers don't really appeal to me. This one is kind of like bordering the line of like, would I own this in my collection? Probably not, but it's a very, here's Carrie, right? Like, this is what Carrie is about, here you go. So definitely effective if you are just a fan of knowing exactly what the book is about. And I like the colors in it. Another modern one that I think is more effective, I love this. This is one that I would own, and this is giving you Carrie, but make it interesting. This one is probably one of my top favorite, like simplistic kind of vibe. I would love to have all of my books in this, and I need to learn Swedish because this is a Swedish edition from 2019, and this I find is just so beautiful, so effective. It just gives you a little bit of the blood, and then just Carrie. Also kind of interesting that she looks like she's redhead like a redhead in this one. Maybe not the image that I like, but I like the image in the font like that. I think that's just really well done, and I think having that on a shelf facing that way, so good. Imagine this with like Salem's Lot, like everything, like literally Stephen King, that font with whatever the book is, but then giving you a little bit through. I love that. I think it's fucking cool. It's one of my favorite, when it's done well, effective uses of like negative space and font design, I guess. So yeah, this is one of the modern ones that I really enjoy. Going kind of back to what I was saying about either it's always like Carrie's face and blood. There's another one that is, I think, one of the more visually interesting examples of that. This one is an Indonesian edition from 2013, and also like one of the only ones that I found that had yellow as for like a cover of Carrie. You see a lot of like red, white, black, some different colors as into different things I'll show you, but this one was like very much like the first yellow one. And I'll be honest, when first looking at it, it almost reads as a zombie novel. I don't know if you're getting that vibe, but it reminds me of just like yellow biohazard zombie, like 28 days. I don't know if I'm thinking that in the 28 days later kind of vibe. I don't know. But the use of the splatter here and just Carrie's face, like if you know what the book is about, is just an effective cover. One that's a bit more simplistic, but also just a little bit dark, you know? I think that's cool. So, and then I think the most modern one I have here is when you started to see more, what is it, like illustrated covers and more, I can't think of the, not animation, you'll see what I mean, I'll pop it up. Okay. Oh no, sorry, so this one is Romanian from 2021, and this one I actually thought was really beautiful for, and I know I said I hated like the rose and the blood, but this one is an example of like rose and blood that's done beautifully, and like as a whole, that image is just kind of neat. I don't necessarily agree with like the design choice on having like the white hair and stuff like that, but it's a way to incorporate blood, Carrie, a little bit of mystique about her. I don't know, something about this one I like. I wouldn't necessarily own that one, but I like it, and I think that it's a way to have like Carrie on the front cover. That was done well, so I wanted to throw that one in there. Then we're getting into the cool stuff. So if you stayed for this long in the video, congratulations, because now we're getting into the stuff that I personally think is fucking sick. Some of this stuff is really cool. Okay, so the first one that I wanted to show is, this one is Turkish from 1993, and turns out Carrie in Turkish just is like, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it right, but to me it reads as gauze, which is just fucking funny to me. I don't know why. And this I pulled because it straight up reminds me of Silence of the Lambs. Like that's what it looks like. And for a second I thought like, what am I scrolling through? And keep in mind on Goodreads, the fucking images are like this big, so you're like, anyway. I think that's just funny. I think it looks so much like Silence of the Lambs. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting. I do like her one eyeball shooting the laser, because there is a scene in the book where they say like everything is covered in her blood, but it was funny the way she like opened her eyes and then stared at everybody. Like that is what made them start laughing. So I think this is a fun, effective cover, even though it does look directly like another piece of well-known media. And then on the same sort of realm as like her big scary eyeballs, this is one of my favorite covers. Actually I started and I didn't finish at all. I have part of a sweater here. I didn't get very far. Okay, maybe I don't want to show you because there's like 28 balls of yarn. But I have a sweater pattern that I was working on. I say was because this is technically a stepped away work in progress. But I wanted to do this image with the blood and stuff, with the funky, I love that funky flowy text. And I originally thought this was a Turkish cover. It says in here that it's an English cover from 1983, but I originally saw it as a Turkish poster. And I thought, oh, that's fucking awesome. Turkish folks are killing it with the Stephen King cover. I don't know who you got designing stuff, but like props to them, because like everything that I've read that is like, this is the Turkish edition, is some of the coolest stuff. But yeah, I really love this freaky looking Carrie. I think she's really cool. So big fan of that one. And then the other Turkish edition that I found is this one from 2003. And again, just Stephen King, goes, whatever it is. I think that's really fun with her, again, her one glaring eyeball. That seems to be a theme that's is through these covers, is her one eyeball. And then I like the use of the skull in her face, which I think is kind of cool too. So the next one I have here is, again, Carrie shooting lasers out of her eyeballs, only this time her head is detached. I mean, that one's pretty sick. This one is from, let me see, it's from 1987, and I think it's a Spanish edition. This one is awesome. So like, this is kind of what I want to see more of in like horror books. I would say that this one actually pushes it a little beyond what Carrie is. She's not this like just jointed, ripped apart head that's like glaring people down with her laser eyes. Although that would be a fucking sick book and I would totally read that. But yeah, I don't know. Something about that one made me laugh like a lot. I thought that was fun. Okay, so the next one here is kind of going back to the blood of it all. This one I think is cool. I would totally have this cover. This one is a Spanish edition from 1985, and honestly, that's pretty well done. That's a way to do like blood spatter and make it just look sick. I don't know. I think that would be a cool shirt. I would want that as a shirt. I think it's just graphic and effective, and I think that's giving you everything from Carrie that you might want. Here's splatter. Like, I don't think the book is that necessarily. There's a little bit more like subtlety to it, but I think that this one is just like such a cool image, I think. So I like that one a lot. And then I think this is the last one that includes blood at all. There's this one that I am throwing up now. This one is a 1984 Italian version. And if I'm reading that right, it's a thriller, a horror thriller and paranormal. I think that's kind of what that's saying. I'm assuming. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but this one again kind of has all those elements of her eyeballs being the thing that people see and like opens her eyes and staring, and then the knife and the blood, because the knife in there is something that is in the book obviously and is known, but it's not, doesn't seem like it's referenced all that much in media. In that final scene where she does get injured by her mom. Yeah, I don't know, something about this one. She also kind of looks like somebody I know in this cover, which is weird. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of ones that I think are leaning more unhinged. So the first one I have here is just, who is this? This is a 1983 German copy, and I'm like, who's that? Who is that? Why does she have trees, what looks like trees, growing out of her head? And then I believe it says on the bottom something about King and Hitchcock best film, or Hitchcock thinks it's a best film, something like that. Yeah, everything about this cover does not read Carrie to me at all. It was one that when I was scrolling through, it just immediately caught my eye and I was like, is this like in the wrong category? Doesn't read that at all. And like, the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm seeing that it looks almost like a field going up to the trees. But even that, like, there's nothing in that field that's like, oh yeah, that's a Carrie reference. I don't know. And she's just staring at my soul, so I'm going to leave that one. Speaking of things staring into my soul. God, these are so fun, guys. I don't think you realize. Okay, I got this one, which is like 4 pixels on my screen. This one is Lithuanian. I have a lisp, so I cannot pronounce that. Lithuanian, from 1994. And again, the 90s, my favorite covers. They get so unhinged, so whack. I don't know what y'all were doing in the 90s to make these insane covers. But I love that it's just Carrie, but like, it's just Carrie with the E and the dot. I don't know, that's not an umlaut, but I love it. And just the laughing, creepy faces in the background are doing something for me. Yeah, I don't know, she's blue. I don't know why she's blue. But again, this one, I am that laughing face in the background. Maybe that's what is so effective about this. But it's funny to me, mostly because those laughing faces remind me of the ghost from Casper. I don't know, that's just does. And then another one that is just kind of like haunting, there's this one. This one is from 1987 and is a Finnish edition. And yeah, I don't know, this one honestly, out of a lot of them, I feel like is very effective as Carrie. It gives you the kind of element of fire, like with her hair, and then also like the telekinetic Matilda move things with your mind kind of vibe. And it does sort of look like she's in like a high school hallway, maybe. Very simple graphic. I think this one is one of the most effective ones, especially when you're kind of doing that 80s 90s like graphics like this. I don't know, kind of like this one. This one, simple, effective. Okay, I got 3 left. So this one is fucking freaky. This one is a Bulgarian edition from 1992, and that's spooky. And like, the more I'm looking at this, like, I understand that it is supposed to be Carrie, but like, does it not give you Margaret vibes? Also, just the way that she's positioned with her arms like that is giving biblical, like, Jesus-y cross vibes, but then also is insanely haunting with her fucking freaky eyes, and then like blood dripping from her mouth. So she almost looks vampiric in this, and just creepy. I don't like that one at all. That one's so creepy. The second to last one I like a lot. This one is a Russian edition from 2013, And something about this one, even though it doesn't necessarily scream Carrie, I like the concept art. It reminds me of Magritte a lot, like the painter. He did a lot of artwork where like the people's faces are disjointed or removed for various reasons. Art school coming out. No, but something about having her like innocence moved or her softness removed to have that dark side underneath, that's just an effective image. And I don't know why necessarily she's in a alleyway or sewer, but that's a choice. But that aside, like her red eye and just like kind of menacing gaze behind that innocence is an effective image. So I thought that one was pretty cool. The last one here is by far my personal favorite, and it may not be everyone's favorite out of this list. I'd be very curious to see if it is, but this one is my favorite. This one is a Czech edition from 1992, and it's the 90s, man, and the covers are awesome. Like I said, tell me when you're looking at this that it doesn't give you some kind of goosebump vibe. Like goosebump, the goo down the stairs kind of vibe. This one's cool because it includes what I'm thinking are the rocks. And the rocks is something that I actually forgot to mention when I was reviewing Carrie, but she does in her youth drop like rocks from the sky and stuff, and I think that those are rocks. The bloody candle is like a nice sort of like ode to the blood themes of the book, and then her just kind of appearing, I don't know, I like it. I like that kind of airbrushed effect. And so as much as I was saying like I don't like just her face in blood and like white and black and red and just here's my favorite cover, and I think it's just the vibes. The vibes of this one are so on. Even in the background next to this like wood kind of thing, you see a little bit of like elements of flame, and so it's almost like flame in a distance, like Sue sees when Sue Snell sees it as the school is burning. So I don't know, I think this one is really fun and just gives me goosebump cover vibes, and I like it a lot. But yeah, those are some of the Stephen King covers. This is just more of a lighthearted, fun video, but I will do them for future videos because I have a bunch of them and I think they are so fucking funny and whack. Let me know down below which one was your favorite. Which one would you get an edition of? There's a couple in there that like if ever I needed to like really go hunt them down, I would totally get them, especially that last one. So if you happen to know anyone who has a cover, that hit me up because I would be interested in checking that one out. Hopefully you guys like this fun journey with me. Thought it would be a nice way to wrap up Carrie and move on to something else. I am now going to start reading Salem's Lot, vampires, and I'm very excited, mostly because I saw a little trailer for the movie that's coming out for it, and it looks really good, although I can't get Max or HBO Max in Canada, so I have no idea where I'm going to watch it, but knowing that is coming out soon and exists soon is really fun because I think I'm going to be right in the midst of like reading it and really taking it in, and it is such a fun novel for Stephen King's very descriptive writing, and there's some amazing quotes in that, so I'm really excited to read that one. If you're curious, pick up your copy of Salem's Lot. I'm going to start reading it pretty much now. I'll be reading it slowly over the course of the next like couple weeks, 2 weeks maybe, so by the time this video comes out, I'm reading it. Maybe you should pick it up, and yeah, hopefully you guys like this fun look at some goofy covers. Again, please let me know which ones are your favorite, because I have that last one is my favorite. Yeah, so hopefully you guys are doing good, and until my next one, talk to all you soon.